Okay, welcome back to segments. We're going to focus on segment length in this video. Before we do that though, just a quick reminder that last practice problem did mention something that we didn't talk about in the first video, which is that if two segments are congruent, they should have tick marks, such as these marks, to show that in this case, in that picture, segment CB is equal to BA. And equal to and congruent are the same word, just, two different words mean the same thing. So make sure in a little note over here, back in your notes where you talked about segments, you can make a note that you mark congruent or equal with tick marks. So like maybe make a little note that like A, B, C. If you see a tick mark like that, you can use 1, 2, 3, as long as they match. That means that segment AB is congruent or equal to segment BC, right? Same length. So make sure that you make that addition to your notes. That's an important thing to have. And we'll definitely be touching back on that as we go. So finding segment length, the first thing we're going to do for this one is we're going to plot these points. And we're going to find horizontal and vertical lengths, and we're going to try and do it without counting. So we're going to look for a shortcut as we're doing this. So make sure to pause the video if you need to, write down our title, write down the problem. And I'm going to plot these points. So A is 2, 4. B is -3 and then 10. So down here. And C is 2, 10. So the first question is, how long is A to C? And we could probably count, right? That's one shortcut where it's easy like this. You could just count that from A to C is going to be 6 units, right? But we want to think about a shortcut for how we figure out that 6 units without being able to count, because they might be further away, right? I might give you a problem where the coordinates are really, really big and they're too big to the point where you can't really count them. So if you focus in on the heights, right? Because notice they are the same x coordinate. They are both to the right 2, but they go up a different amount. Notice the difference between a height of 10 and a height of 4 is going to be 6. So 10 minus 4 equals 6. That's kind of our shortcut to be able to do it without counting. So for your vertical, right, if you have a vertical line like this, you count, or you don't count the difference, excuse me, you subtract your y values, right, your heights, because they're in the same x. Whereas if I was trying to find the length of C to B, and as I'm looking at B, I'm realizing that I totally plotted that wrong. That should be -3, up 10. I went -3, -10 by accident. So I'm hoping that as I plotted that, you guys were like, Ms. Goldenberg, you're plotting it wrong. I'm hoping that, as I was doing that, you were like, oh no, she made a mistake. And normally when we're in person, that's when someone will let me know, and we'll be like, phew, caught that mistake. So B, which is left 3, up 10, not down 10. Going from B to C, notice we're going to try and do a similar thing, except for I'm going to focus on the x coordinates because they're at the same height, so we wouldn't really look at the y value or the height. But B is at -3 and C is at +2. This one, it's a little tricky because of that negative sign, but if you do the bigger number, the 2, minus the -3, notice the 2 negatives turn into a positive, so it becomes 2 plus 3, which is 5. Another thing you could do if you're not sure about that is if you focus on how far each of them are from 0, right? One of them is 2 away from 0, one is a distance of 3 away from 0. You could just add the numbers themselves and kind of ignore the sign if that helps as well, if they're in that placement like they are for us right now. Okay, so the next couple of problems are some group practice. So these problems you're going to be working with your group. And notice some of them I do give you larger numbers to help you think through how you would find the distance without counting. So you're going to want to use the tips that we talked about in the examples and apply those tips as your group is trying out these problems. Notice there's also an extension. That one's going to help you think about how to find the distance, not with a horizontal or vertical line, right? Both of our examples, we had B to C, which B to C is that nice horizontal example, and we had the other one was A and C, right? That was a vertical example. So the bottom one is going to help you think about what happens if you have more of a diagonal line where it's not straight across or straight up and down. So kind of have that question in the back of your mind of how you would approach that kind of a problem. So at this point, come back to our Zoom and you'll do some group practice in a breakout session.